it is not so bad, to make sure that we can, reduce the impact to the barest minimum. And here we're trying to analyze some of the steps that the state government has done to make sure that we don't feel such an impact. We're going to be talking to public affairs analysts on the program, and then we're going to be dissecting it and opening the phone lines also to get your input, because you are the people that the state government is doing all of these things for. My name is SHARON, MANDOR, and I welcome you to the Melting Point.
This is Enquiry. That's not the issue. The issue is we're here to cross-pollinate ideas and look at the Akwa Ibom state through different lenses, and we shan't be doing this alone. Welcome to the program Melting Point. I expect your calls later. Good morning.
All right, we have two public affairs analysts in the studio, regular Monday Melting Point analyst, Otuekom Donald Enquiry. Good morning to you, Otuekom.
Good morning, SHARON, MANDOR, Queen of the Airwaves, and forget about the only name our gentleman is calling himself. His name is better known as Oselo. And I think you know Oselo very well.
You see the name Queen of the Airwaves. Yes. It's becoming not just your thing now.
Oh yeah, that is what I want to hear. Oh, it's a beautiful name. You need to own it. You need to own it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and again I say Jesus is Lord. No matter how challenging the situation is, we should remember that.
All right, so we also have another public affairs analyst in the studio. We have Endurance Basi. Good morning to you, Endurance.
Good morning to you, SHARON. Good morning to you, Wholesaler. Good morning to all our Akwa Ibomites. Wow, SHARON, Queen of the Airwaves.
You got to wait.
It is what it is.
I have to register that with the corporate affairs.
Yes.
Before you can go ahead.
It's a pleasure to
so until then, she's SHARON.
And mind you, this is like the people's ambassador here. Yes, mine is always to ensure that I stand in the gap for the people and for others.
All right, gentlemen, before we go into the main discussions, we're days away from the protest, the planned protest on the 1st of August, and there seems to be tension around, even some rumors that, today being Monday, the 29th of July, is going to be, in fact, sit at home, stay home, don't come out, and all of that. How really were your weekends? Panic buying? Did you experience any of such? How was it in your area?
The momentum is high when when this protesting come to mind. The citizens, their blood is kind of, you see them, they can't wait. I see this consistent comments that this protest surely gonna hold. But however, in my area, there was this movement. Movement has been very fine. The protest does not in any way hamper movement and activities. I have been moving on, going about my normal activities as usual. So, and don't forget the season we are in Akwa Ibom State. Talking about the election stuff and all of that. A lot of activities are happening around.
I think when you look at Akwa Ibom State, for a fact, you notice that most times, just like Ayoyo used to say in those days, that it has been a character of our people that in most times when there are issues, any phenomenon that seems to flow, we are not the first to step out, and we don't want to be the left out, so we are not going to be the last. So certainly the momentum compared to what you see, I've lived in other cities in this country, both in the north and in the south, the southwest, the south-south, and these things are moving more in other parts of the country. The tension is more. You are likely going to see some demonstration in Akwa Ibom. Say mobilization, I believe, must be done, but I don't think it is at the momentum that you are likely to see in other parts of the country. So I have not seen panic buying. I've not seen people rushing from place to place to do one thing or the other, but I think and the pain and the impact is still there. You are going to see some effects locally, but for now, there's no panic buy.
Okay, I started with this protest because the governor of Akwa Ibom State, Governor Moino, has actually stood for calm. He recalled the ugly scenario which played out during the NSAS protest. He reasoned that protests could be hijacked by hoodlums with attendant negative consequences of deepening the country's economic woes. The governor also acknowledged the federal and state governments are implementing measures to find plausible solutions to the current economic hardship, and highlighted the initiatives undertaken by his administration to alleviate the economic pressure on citizens, to include the distribution of palliatives, the support for the elderly, the issuance of food vouchers, job creation efforts, among others. And that's the angle I want to come from now. Tuekwanga, let me start with you. Generally, before we go into some of these points individually, how do you rate the state government's actions to alleviate poverty since the administration kicked off on 29th of May 2023?
Yeah, first let me clear one impression that is being created around by those in power. You mentioned it earlier that inflation, high cost of living, challenges economically is a worldwide issue. I intensely disagree with that notion.
That is a global issue.
It's not. There is no way you can tell me that the quality of living in Nigeria is compared to what you see in Britain, is compared to what you see in Brazil, is compared to what you see. It is not. Let me tell you.
No, I'm not saying that it's that bad here.
It is not even bad.
No,
let us
they are going through inflation too. The inflation is everywhere. It's that it's not as bad as where we are right now.
Inflation is, in fact, any nation that doesn't have inflation, you understand, the economy is certainly not doing very well. I get a certain level of inflation is expected in any economy. To turn that to say that they are having challenges in their economy is absolutely wrong. It is the narrative pushed out by certain agents of government who want to create an impression to Nigerians that everybody in the world is suffering. It is not so. If you look at the growth of economies, go to US, go to I'm not talking about the kind of I'm talking about the real economy. In Nigeria, when they tell you that the economy is growing, what do? They will look at oil export and say, okay, Nigeria is making 30 billion in a year, for example, dollars. And they use that figure to equalize it among 200 million Nigerians and say, this is the gross domestic product, this is what we are making. No, that is not the real economy. The real economy is what me and you are doing. When you evaluate that, can you now say that Nigeria is growing? Nigeria certainly is not growing. Companies are leaving. What about the productive sector? What about employment? How many people are out of employment? You see the point? So when we keep on comparing countries who are doing, even third world nations, even Ghana is doing better than Nigeria. Forget the fact that we hear so things happen. But every other country surrounding Nigeria, even Cameroon, is doing better than Nigeria. So this story, this narrative they push out to make sure to let Nigerians know that everybody is suffering. Why are you not sitting down like other nations are sitting down not doing anything? It is not right.
Okay,
nations are not passing through what we are passing through. The level of hardship in Nigeria. Let me tell you.
We're saying the same thing because when I said what I said that when I was explaining today's papers, two forces come together. There's a global inflation, and then Nigerians as a country are supposed to be doing something to make sure that we don't feel the heat as much as it should be. That is what other countries are doing. But Nigerians are feeling the brunt because we are not doing something about the inflation.
Okay, listen, but let me tell you, I'm not even arguing with what you are saying. What I'm telling you is that, you see, these people have been creating this impression. You understand me? Now, the challenges we have is that, like I've always said here in this studio, just last year, 2 presidents came into office. One was the president of Nigeria. I've always mentioned Javier. I just want to create an explanation that Nigerians can relate with very easily. You know, an analogy. Now, you have Javier that came in 12th of December, and you have a president that came in 29th of May. About, I think, is it 12 months or 6 months or so after a president came in just 3 months, he reduced. The inflation in that country was more than what we have in Nigeria. You understand? Things were as bad in Argentina as it was in Nigeria, relatively, you know. But today, in few months' time, in just 3 months' time, that economy was transformed. You see the point? So this story that they keep on telling us every day, you know, this is what men in power say. I was watching one of the channels just now, and you hear the story the man is saying, repeating this story, making us to blame ourselves. You understand me? Just like I said the other time about the NSAS issue. They keep on saying, people didn't. It was government agents who hijacked the NSAS movement by ferrying touts and rodents into that process and making them to cause a lot of mayhem. It was them, it wasn't the people who were leading the NSAS. Yes, because the people who were leading that NSAS protest, like Aisha Yesufu, showed a video of military vehicles conveying. It is on the open media, it is in the open space. You see the point? So what I'm trying to say, just comparing the situation, that they keep on pushing out this narrative, making you doubt yourself, making you believe that you are the problem of Nigeria and not them. You see the point? The challenge we are having is them. You see the point? But we're going to talk about, I think you said what Akwa Ibom state government has done. You know, now the governor has done a lot of things. You see the point? Started good. Number one was trying to bring Akwa Ibom people together. You understand me? For them to think as one. To me, that is an economic policy. You see the point? Making people to work together. It was a very good thing. He came in with very little political capital, but he was able to build huge political capital within a short possible time. There were a lot of projects he commissioned. You know, those projects, they may be physical projects, capital projects like roads, networks, but it has economic impact. Why? Because they are employing people to work with them. Even yesterday, I had a sister of mine in church who, on Saturday, she came late for a program we were having very early in the morning, and I asked her what happened. She said somebody took her to give her a job in a construction company. In most countries of the world, in most developed nations, how do you check unemployment and poor living conditions? Some of those things they use in doing it is by having a lot of projects, like capital project being done. It creates employment. You have what do you call it, Ibom leadership development. You understand me? You have some programs in agriculture. Those are very beautiful projects on ground, you know, from first looking at it. But you know, some of the challenges I have, because according to the white man, they say the devil is in the detail. How has these things been implemented has been some challenges. You understand me? Like even the what do you call it? These things they are doing now, palliative. You see that whenever the federal government gives a certain amount of rice, the state government will add its own. It has happened even recently. It wasn't mandatory for the state governor to do same, but he did same. He did the other one. He gave civil servants some what do you call it? Is it incentive? I've forgotten what they call it. Some salary award. I think it was 20,000. It wasn't much, but he went a long way. He did give like the what do you call it? The gratuity, which has been lying down for a long time. He has started paying virtually every single month. Something is being given. I saw among the disabled people, he gave some things. I think 100 million naira for the first phase was done. I think they're on the second phase now. There are a lot of those beautiful projects that has been done. You see, but the challenge I have with His Excellency and his project has been, number one, is that these projects are not deep enough. You know, the poverty is so deep. You know, when you're giving somebody a drug the first time, you know, somebody has malaria, the first dose might be, I think, 4 or 3 tablets or so. Then the other one, they can say 1 or 2 or something like that. But you know, at the first instant, the injection of the drug against poverty in Akwa Ibom is not intrusive enough to be able to make some very serious impact. The impact we are seeing is, one can say, okay, this is the first time, the first year, let us see what His Excellency the Governor is going to do as the year goes by. But is that able to stop Akwa Ibom people from being hungry? There are more things His Excellency should and must do. You understand me? To make sure that hunger and poverty is reduced. Akwa Ibom is one of the poorest states. I think from statistics, from what NBS is saying, more than 70% of Akwa Ibom people, of about 7 million people, are living in abject poverty. You understand me? So something needs to be done beyond what he's doing. He needs to sit down after this 1 year, evaluate what he has done. This is just about a year and a month evaluate what is done, and see how he can do more to be able to give us what we are looking for. You see the point? Because what he is doing for is good. There are some things, as we go on, we are going to discuss that. There are some things he's doing that I will say, look, you're not supposed to do this kind of thing, like the 18-story building in Lagos is absolutely unnecessary as far as I'm concerned. But at that, he needs to do more. He's going on the right direction, but he needs to widen his scope and make these things more half weight. That is my point.
All right, this is Melting Point, and I want to go to endurance. Endurance, in spite of, or despite the noble achievement of His Excellency Pastor Umono in terms of, poverty alleviation and all other policy formulations, including the bulk purchase, which of course nobody seems to be hearing anything about that now. Are you very comfortable with His Excellency's diversion or open-handedness, being, trying to accommodate real estate development in terms of accruing revenue to the state, besides the bulk purchase and other visions, and it's now going to real estate?
Are you referring to the 18-story building?
Part of it.
Part of it. There's one at US. There's another one at Abuja, so maybe Dubai. So I don't know what, but I'm talking about diversion into real estate development.
All right, please. I actually didn't want to be pushed to a very tight corner, but I'll manage. I'll try as much as I can to look at this on the aspects of the social intervention programs that His Excellency the Governor Pastor Moine is doing. Highly so fantastic. On the other hand, going into real estate developments at a time like this, I think maybe His Excellency and his advisors would have to take a second look at that decision, if we really need that at this time. Because at a time that poverty is plunging the citizens, at a time we are facing inflation, where people are more concerned about how to live a relatively comfortable life now. That involves, being able to feed well, which His Excellency has really been doing very well. Though, like Otuekong said, the people in charge of this, his foot soldiers, His Excellency's intentions are really noble, good, noble intention, beautiful plan there. But then, the people who are at the helm in discharging this, are they really making sure that this spread across, that the people are getting the dividends of this? For instance, let me quickly talk about the Ibomile. Ibomile program is a fantastic one. You see, His Excellency has been reeling out funds to support the graduates, those who have been trained after some period. Many times, he has been, some persons have been receiving 500,000, and others have been receiving 150,000, and so on and so forth, in order to fund their businesses. But then, in the selection processes, during the selection process, are we getting it right? Are those in charge ensuring that there is transparency in this? Yes, there was a similar program by the previous administration, where I think it was an open registration online. People registered online. They said, just register, you give your details. But I was surprised that at the end of the day, some persons, when the name was eventually published, the name of some persons who appeared on the D-Day, the names was not there. And the question is, what happened? What were the criteria for the screening when it was an open registration online? And then nothing was said eventually as to why this person's name didn't come out and all of that. So what I will advise, because this thing, like Otukon said, the effects of these programs has to be felt, because giving this injection, as it were, to this poverty issue, it has to go round, to go deep in order to raise and stabilize this problem.
Yeah, Durant, you seem to fault the drivers of the policies of His Excellency, and do you have what issues do you have with them concerning their offices? The issue, like I've said already, with respect to how some of these policies are being implemented, like the AK-led, I will still hamper on the AK-led, IBOM-led rather, the IBOM-led. The issue of selection, there should be transparency. Whenever people indicate interest, a lot of people, you always see whenever these things is out, people, I want to be part of, how can I? And a whole number of persons registered for this program. And when these people are registered for this program, they expect to be invited at the end of the day. They expect to get a Gmail, keep on checking their mailbox. I have personally on several occasions registered for these programs. Yes, I have personally on several occasions registered for these programs, but the criteria for the selection. Are you looking at the social register, the constitution?
No, not the social register. The program, IBOM program, IBOM Leadership Development Program. There were other ones that preceded this, I think, in the previous administration. What I'm only, like I said, I don't know the criteria for, say, the selection then, but I want to say this out just by kind of drawing the attention of the managers of this, to always ensure transparency, always ensure that everybody, we are all Akwa Ibomans. Yes, we are all from here. You cannot tell me to go and belong to another state when this is where I'm from. And then if I try this one, government brings out this other policy, I try to find my way, I can't. It brings another one, I try to find my way, I can't, and all of that. And then it makes me begin to wonder, maybe I'm not needed in my state. I should think of going elsewhere else to seek help. So when you pursue a child from his own father's house and you don't allow him to feel the dividends of what is happening in his father's house, where do you want him? You want him to leave the house and then go elsewhere? Who will accept him if his child is not accepted in his own house?
All right. You're still tuned to Melting Point on Memories 96.5 FM. You could we're streaming live on Facebook. You could join us on Facebook. The handle is Memories 965 FM, MEMORIES 965 FM. So drop a comment there and we'll be reading it out. But before we even open the phone lines, I'm still going to throw my question at you, Endurance. You faulted the processes of the IBOM-led. Let's talk about palliatives. Palliatives seem to be the order of the day since this administration started, but at the federal level, at the state level, it's one thing after the other with palliatives. Recently, they also sent 24,000 bags of 25 kg rice. The state government also, they doubled that, to make it 48,000 bags of 25 kg rice. But how effective have this distribution of palliatives been? I remember the last time we had people calling to say that the people sharing in the local governments, there wasn't transparency, there wasn't accountability. There were a lot of wuru inside this sharing of these palliatives. The state governor doesn't seem to know this, because I remember I listened to him when he was talking about this new doubling the palliatives. He said the last sharing was seamless. So I don't think he's aware of this. So this is off from the state level. It's now the local government level. How can we do better if you say that the distribution of the palliatives is not so effective?
All right. I will not fault the effectiveness or the sharing of palliative. I think there was a little challenge during the first phase of it, because maybe some villages, the village heads did not manage it well. The palliative that was meant to be shared immediately. When somebody is very hungry and and then the person heard that food is ready, there is food, and then the excitement, the eagerness to want to eat and have this food is there, and then they'll be clustering about. So in effect, now the food is ready. Instead for you to share the food, you decide to hold it for some time for what have you purpose. Information has already gone out ahead of time that these things are available, and now you have been informed. I mean, the villages and the village heads, you ought to have put your house in order ahead of time. If you needed to set a committee, if you needed to call family heads around, and then already before the arrival, this is the number already, it has been spelled out. So number of bags is coming to each of the villages. So you ought to have met with the family heads ahead of time, and then the sharing formula, look at how this will be, and then you put that such that the moment these things arrives, instead of having to keep, some of them hold the palliative for days, for months. Now, at the end of the problem arose. Some of the youth camped up, and that's why you hear issues are happening around in some of the villages. The youth come up, they break in, and then they took some bags and issues like that, fighting and all of that. So these things, information about these things, as we are talking now, a whole lot of persons have heard us. Information about things like this is always out ahead of time. So the village heads should consider how they manage this thing. I have witnessed the sharing of these palliatives personally at the local government level. Yes, I have been to my own local government. I'm from Oran. So I saw how these things were shared. You know, each of the villages were there. It goes into wards, it's shared into wards. And then when the wards, the leadership of the village head is part of it, and the stakeholders of the area. And then when it's shaped into wards, what happened? They subsequently now share it into villages that makes up the wards. That's how it is shared. So this at this level has been done, well taken care of. I think where the problem normally happens is at the village level. So I'm hereby calling on the village heads to see how they can put their house in order by having they have the village stakeholders, ensuring that these things goes to those that rightfully belong. There are some persons that should not even be interested in these things.
Such as you, anyway. You may not be interested.
Well, you know
I was specifically asking this question because of this viral video I saw, something that happened in Kogi State. I don't know if you saw the video. Something that happened in Kogi State. They found the palliatives that federal government sent to the state for them to share, and they noticed that the state government was repackaging it and selling it off. Something that was supposed to be given for free. It's not happening here. But
yes, we have some elements like that. There are some elements like that in government. Kudos to Akwa Ibom State government. I still give it to them. They are very magnanimous in situations like this. Things like this are so unheard of. We shouldn't resort, stoop so low to things like that. Those in government, you already have enough, and then the federal government care so much. See, let me be with all amount of sincerity, I want to commend the presidency. They have really tried in this regard. Yes, they have done their best. How I wish. Now the effort by the presidency is being appreciated at the state levels. Like what Akwa Ibom State Governor is doing. You know, he has to double it. That shows compassion. Someone that cares so much about the citizens. And then now the problem is at the stakeholders level. What are the stakeholders doing? So now the stakeholders should see that they are not there to thwart the effort of this person, the effort of His Excellencies, when they are about to carry out the actual implementation of these things. So these are this is that about that. But however, I think too, there's another thing which I don't know if you're aware of it, Sharon. Like the other social intervention program. We can talk about a whole lot of them. Other social intervention programs are there. like the recently.
We'll go into the social intervention, but we're touching them one by one.
One after the other.
Yeah, that's why we start with palliative.
All right, but I think with that, that's the measures to take to ensure that this palliative is well managed. And like I said, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's for the poorest of the poor, as it is.
All right. Besides knowing exactly who are the poorest of the poor, of course, it's not.
Yes, it's not written on the face.
It's not written on your physiognomy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so now you are trying to fault or suspect the leadership or the sharing formula of those palliatives. I want to come to Otuekom. Away from that, some persons say Nigerians or Kwaibumites don't need palliatives now. That instead they prefer the CNG buses to palliatives. What's your view or take on this, Otuekom?
Palliative is not an economic policy. It's not a policy. It's supposed, like the governor himself has said, it is simply a midterm situation, and that is not even what Nigerians need as of now. Because when you look at this palliative, like I've kept on saying, there's so much corruption involved in it. Akwa Ibom State is even a lot better than most states, even though you see some pockets of challenges. And like I've always said, His Excellency should keep to his word, which when he said they set up a team to investigate those who do badly in those things. At that initial time, the threats he made a lot of village leaderships to do what is right. You see, there's a lot of logistics involved in packaging, in getting those things to the needy. Those bags of rice are taken, where they are taken to the different warehouses, how they are separated villages by village, how they are even being carried. There are some villages that had to use some money to get those things down to their communities. You see the point? Some of them even paid, some even the vehicles that took it down, they had to bring out money, you know. And the threats from the governor, because he set up I think an investigative committee or something like that. But unfortunately, I've not heard, we heard that some village heads did what was wrong. You see the points of village leadership, not just the village head, because there are certain villages where the village chairman is more powerful than the village head, where the youth president or even a particular family head is more influential than the village head or the village council, you know. So at that time, you know, the governor should have made good his threat by at least punishing one or two to serve as a deterrent. Up to today, not one has been done. A beautiful committee was formed. I don't think many of those people in those committees are even working with that committee up to today again. And another thing is that how much is this thing? What is the number? You have about 3,000 villages in Akwa Ibom State, and you have 24,000 bags. How many people in one village is this bags getting to? Some of the challenges you see across the country is simply because of scarcity. These bags are not enough for you to spread it across. So at the end of the day, in certain states, like you see what is happening in Kogi State, where these things are politicized. I saw another video of a particular, I think was in Ekiti State, where the people came out with a bag of beans, and I think not beans, this is maize and some kind of low quality rice, and the people said, we are not even interested in this thing. Why are you disturbing us? Don't disturb us again. It's open, they brought it up. So the administration of this palliative is very, very poor, and it goes on to show how poor the government at the center is managing things. Some states are doing well. If you go to Borno State, you hear even the governor himself is the one doing the distribution himself, even though you are still going to see some kind of challenges there, you know. But in case of Akwa Ibom State, again, let me come to Ibom leadership development, like he was saying. My challenge with that program is primarily that you need to have more people. I mean, they do it after every 3 months. I don't know the number, maybe about 100 people per batch. I've always said that number is too low. You need to have nothing less than, in fact, monthly you should have new batches coming in. That is number one. Number two, on the monies being given to these persons, it's just 500,000. 500,000 is just enough for you to start a groundnut frying business today. You go to people, those women in Plaza who are selling groundnut and corn. You understand me? So you need to give the people more, at least a minimum of 1.5 million. Okay. That could help them to start business. And not just them, there are those already in business that the governor needs to, to invest in. There are companies that are just budding up, and you need to invest in those ones too, who may not have the time to come to that program. Now, again, I want to say this, that the governor's own, well, for now, is doing well.
Let's interrupt you because we have a commercial break. When we return, we'll continue with that conversation. Do what, stay with us.
All right, this is Melting Point on Memories 965 FM. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
They should, and I was talking about the BOM leadership, that they need to do more on that front, and it's a flagship program for empowerment, human capacity development, and is doing an excellent job. Now, one thing we need to give the governor kudos for is that program, unlike what we used to see in the past, the persons he says he's going to give, like the last batch, you see the first batch was the first and the second batch of participants who were given that 500,000. Now, I did a lot to find out what was going on. As a social entrepreneur, I have a lot of people close to me who were involved in that program, and I discovered that all of them were paid. That kudos to the governor.
Beautiful.
In previous administration, like the BOM 3,000, out of the 3,000, only 1,000 were given 1,000 naira each. Up to today, a program that started in the past, like the NG case, many have not still been paid the meager stipend of 100, 150 or 500,000 that were meant to be paid. But kudos to the governor on his own project, the one he started. Everybody has been paid thus far. This is, I think, the third batch, and I do believe that every single one of them will be paid. But my challenges with His Excellency and this program is this, that it is not inclusive enough. We need, number one, more persons to be. The governor should spend a minimum of 5 billion naira in a year in human capacity development, not just to those who are just startups like the ones who go to that program, but to those who are already in business. There's some medium scale businesses today, furniture makers and all that, you know, whom you can have a program for them and you invest in them more money than what you're giving to these people. You understand me? We have producers of product in Akwa Ibom State who should be encouraged by government to expand their businesses. This is what is done worldwide. If you look at like the brewery here in Akwa Ibom State, it is controlled by Indians. That is what the Indians are doing. You have your businesses, 3 years, government comes to you to tell you, what do you think we can do to help your business? They help you fund these businesses. You see the point? Americans call it venture capital. That is how all the companies, all the apps we are using today started. Facebook, Google, you understand me? Microsoft, they came off the back of one venture because you don't have the money to, you don't have the resources to get, what do you call it? You have collateral. So they help you get these monies. Nigerian businesses are not having access to good financial facilities for them to really move forward. So this is where the government can come in to help. Ibom leadership is a good flagship structure to help a lot of businesses in Akwa Ibom to get up there. And the governor should put, he's a businessman, he should put his eye there. You understand me? He talked about, my friend talked about the challenges of, what do you call it, challenges of how people are being taken, the recruitment process for that project. The governor certainly, I understand that he sends some people to see what they are doing, but he should also look into the recruitment process to make sure that, you know, foul plays are not being done. You see, on that score, he has done excellently well. There are other ones, you know, but, you know, that one is quite okay for now.
All right. So for you, you can be part of this conversation by dialing 0803 085 7755. That is 0803 085 7755 or 0809 066 6909. All right. We've got a call here. Hello. Good morning. Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, Akpan. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.